This video was brought to you by Swarm International. Hello, this is my submission for Baku's Hybrid Battle Royale.
Hybrid? What are you talking about?
I hear you ask. Well, when the Jurassic Park franchise decided to introduce made-up hybrid dinosaurs, a subset of fans saw that and decided that it would be fun to make up their own hybrid animals. Inevitably, people wanted their hybrids to fight other hybrids, and now, hybrid competitions are everywhere. And Baku's is a weird one, deviating from the typical format in several ways. Most importantly is a 100-gram weight limit, meaning the hybrids will all be tiny critters. Almost as importantly is the location, which are 4 domes each mimicking a natural environment where the hybrids are all thrown in at once and allowed to encounter each other randomly but semi-naturally. This break from the typical tournament or objective-based format has some implications. The randomized opponents means the hybrid must not be hyper-specialized. The naturalistic environment means the hybrid must have adaptations to survive instead of just fight. And what my submission leans into, the time between encounters allows for prep time. My hybrid is an arachnid. In fact, it is designed to be the arachnid. It exemplifies the various traits and life strategies of the clade, all in one cohesive whole. It's a jack-of-all-trades generalist, able to survive and thrive in a variety of habitats with no one weakness. Most importantly of all, its genome is composed entirely of arachnids. Otherwise, you could hardly call it the pinnacle of them. Now, onto the genome. First up, Mastigoproctus giganteus, or the giant vinegaroon. This is the perfect base. It has decent armor and mobility, and a buffet of useful traits. Firstly, their pedipalps are very good digging tools, which vinegaroons use to make burrows and tunnels. They're also robust and lined with spikes, perfect for crushing even well-armored prey. Examples include isopods, beetles, and millipedes. Speaking of prey, vinegaroons are not picky eaters. They hunt other large predatory arthropods such as sun spiders, scorpions, and centipedes. They have been recorded eating prey with chemical defenses, such as blister beetles, stink bugs, and believe it or not, bombardier beetles. They'll also scavenge on meat and even fruit, unlike the vast majority of other arachnids. This is due to their chelicerae, which are solid, unlike that of spiders, letting them tear and chew through both solid foods and the armor of their prey. Their chelicerae may be small, but they pack a punch. And if they can't get food at all, they can just hibernate underground for months at a time. Sensory-wise, their first leg pair are long and thin, described as antenniform. They also have a long sensory tail. This helps them feel around their environment, as well as gives them an acute sense of smell. These senses are especially useful at night. Vinegaroons are nocturnal. Their most unique trait, and their namesake, is the concentrated acetic acid spray on the end of their abdomens. It can fire accurately and in nearly any direction. Acetic acid is the same stuff found in vinegar, though here it's much more concentrated. It's an effective deterrent of both vertebrates and arthropods, and works best against respiratory systems and sensory structures, such as eyes or antennae. One study observed an immature vinegaroon spray a sun spider of equal size that tried to attack it. The sun spider ended up frantically shoving its chelicerae into the dirt for several minutes and never tried attacking again. And also, since I know people love metals inside of hybrids, the vinegaroon has zinc in its pedipalps, chelicerae, and walking legs, hardening them against damage. Next up is Monocentripus balfouri, the Socotra Island blue baboon tarantula. It's a long name. This tarantula is known for producing particularly dense sheets of webbing from its spinnerets, which the hybrid will lay in and around its tunnels. The webbing isn't sticky, but it will produce vibrations that will alert the hybrid, and probably isn't pleasant to walk on. This species is also able to be communal if conditions require it, engaging in communal feeding and minimal cannibalism, though this trait won't matter in this particular competition. The next contributor is a pretty famous one, Theraphosa blondi, the Goliath bird-eater tarantula. This large tarantula will be used for its hairs. On its abdomen, it has large urticating hairs that it can flick off in response to threats. These hairs are extremely irritating to the skin of both vertebrates and softer-bodied invertebrates. It's bad, comparable to fiberglass. The hairs also accumulate in the dens of these spiders, meaning any would-be intruder will experience a nasty surprise. Sensory hairs also cover the body, allowing the hybrid to detect hair currents, sound, and vibrations, which goes double for that of webbing. Now for another ranged contributor, Cytodes thoracica, the spitting spider. This spider produces, in addition to its normal silk glands, extremely sticky silk within its venom glands. It uses this to restrain prey, firing multiple times for particularly large items. They also fired in a zigzagging motion, ensuring the entire prey item is covered. An interesting synergy to note in the hybrid, firing within the den will cause the spit to attach to the pre-existing web sheet lining the floor, walls, and ceiling, massively increasing its effectiveness. Despite what you might find from a cursory internet search, this spit was discovered to not mix with the venom when used. This is achieved by the toxic compounds being produced in the front of the gland, while the spit is produced in the back. I can use this fact to move the silk spit into the rear acid glands, which are already specialized for accurate sprays. The last silk-related contributor is Chairostris darwini, Darwin's bark spider. It's a minor contributor, just increasing the strength and toughness of the silk. The purpose of this is simply to be able to effectively restrain the no doubt powerful hybrids this arachnid will face off with. The penultimate contributor is Pulmonoscorpius kirktonensis, which is a very large scorpion from the Carboniferous. This contributor will be used for two things. The first and obvious thing are the legs and other adaptations that allow for an increase in size, while still agile enough for active predation. And while I could use this to get up to multiple kilograms, in this case I will regulate the size with the vinegaroon and bird eater contributors to only reach 100 grams. The second trait is very important for removing a critical weakness. Unlike modern arachnids, Pulmonoscorpius had well-developed compound eyes. This gives the hybrid better awareness of its surroundings, as well as the ability to detect certain flying foes. The hybrid may still not have a favorable matchup against things like parasitoid wasps, but the early detection will afford it counterplay, such as retreating to its burrow or aiming either of its ranged abilities. The final, and definitely the most obscure contributor, is Plesiocyro madelei, a primitive Carboniferous arachnid and a distant relative of the vinegaroon itself. What it gains from this peculiar creature is its first pair of legs. Like the vinegaroon's own first leg pair, they're quite elongated. Unlike the vinegaroon, Plesiocyro can use these legs for walking and prey capture, as evidenced by the spines on the femur segment. This gives my arachnid a mid-range weapon, allowing it to swat at or seize opponents, helping with forcing and keeping distance. This may come at the cost of some of the sensory abilities of the vinegaroon-derived legs, but it's more than worth it, considering the sensory systems the hybrid has gained from other contributors. Now that the contributors are out of the way, behold, Ultima Arachne Giganteus, the giant final spider. Or as I like to call it, the Uberachnid. And I'd say it lives up to its name. It has decent burst speed, reasonably sturdy armor, good grappling capabilities, and a treasure trove of indirect and chemical defenses. At 100 grams, the Uberachnid has a length of 6.6 inches or 17 centimeters. There is no height calculation, as its body shape and leg structure render finding a height impossible. The Uberachnid, as a generalist, could theoretically do just fine in any of the habitats, barring the intertidal Sector D for obvious reasons. However, its burrowing and nocturnal habits are a much greater advantage in one sector in particular. Sector C, the arid shrubland. The extensive heat and lack of natural shelter is solved by the creation of extensive burrows, providing complete refuge from the heat. The high competition for shade may even drive opponents that can't burrow straight into the uberachnid's fortified lair, and thus, to their own deaths. The base of the hybrid, the giant vinegaroon, is also commonly found in arid habitats. The low humidity will be no issue. Behavior-wise, the uberachnid will attempt to restrain its opponents with its silk spray while forcing distance with its first leg pair. If the opponent is dangerous, it will use its acid spray to induce pain and panic, and if the opponent gets too close, the hybrid will utilize its urticating hairs. And if it needs to, the hybrid can use its pedipalps in conjunction with its first leg pair in order to grapple, restrain, and crush. The uberachnid will spend nearly all of its time inside of its burrow, as the daily encounters provide more than enough food for it not to need to forage. When without a home base, such as at the beginning or when moving to Sector X, it will focus on remaining undetected, at night if possible, and setting up a burrow immediately. Well, that about wraps it up. The uberachnid is here, and ready to assert its supremacy. Not responsible for lacerations, chemical burns, urticaria, dermatitis, or other injuries incurred by the handling of this product.